Hey everybody, and thanks for joining in my video for task 4 for ISDT 7335 with Dr. Chang for our summer 2022 course. I am Stephanie Galvan Russell. I am a middle school librarian in Austin, Texas, and I am an ISDT doctoral student, an overall nerd, an ed tech enthusiast, and in this case, I'm an LMS analyst. And while I would love to be an LMS analyst or director of educational technology, I'm only holding this role for this assignment. All right, so for this project, I have assumed the role of a technology director where I am helping administrators and teachers determine appropriate learning management systems for their school. In this task, I will be investigating the functions that Google Classroom has and evaluating them so that administrators and instructors can make an informed decision on which learning management system they should use. So today's presentation will be all about Google Classroom and its functions. In the first part of this presentation, we're going to talk about the course quality control, interactive tools, course templates, gradebooks, social network support, calendar, assessment support, and resource management. I would like to preface this by showing and stating that anyone can set up a Google Classroom, whether you have a Google Education suite or if you just have a personal Google account. It can be used as a learning management system as well as an organizational tool. So first, we're going to talk about course quality control. So when you log into Google Classroom, this is what you see as both the teacher and a student, and it is called the stream. While it is not exactly like a student view like Blackboard or Canvas has, Stream shows you what the users of your classroom will see. The only thing that will change is if you have something that you don't want the learners to see, then it'll have a little icon that shows you that only the instructor can see that. So for interactive tools, for learner to learner, the learners can have a discussion board, but that has to be set up by the instructor or classroom owner. And learners can post content in the stream, like they can ask questions or they can post any kind of thing they want to discuss. But the instructor has to have that set up. In the Google Classrooms that I have used in the past, I have that turned off so that students can't just add things just randomly that'll be coming up, because I have had it happen in the past where a student posts something that's inappropriate. For learner to instructor, there is a private chat where the learner and the instructor can leave private comments on the student's work. You can see that right here, and they can respond to each other. So if a student had a question about a grade, they can do that there. Learner to content, the learners can watch videos or view photos in Google Classroom without having to leave Classroom. And tests, there are multiple choice quizzes that can be created, but you have to create them in Google Forms in order for Classroom to use it as a test or a quiz. Learner to system interface, the students cannot change the look and feel of an LMS, of Google Classroom, only the instructor can do that. And as far as alerts and reminders, it can connect to the learner's Google Calendar, and then that would be an alert or reminder. All right, course templates. There are no existing course templates, but you can create your own template. So in Shake Up Learning's blog from 2018, Casey Bell talks about how you can create your own course template and reuse that for your courses as you go on throughout teaching. So you can easily create the ideal setup for your class, including topics and assignments, and copy those into a new class year each semester and release assignments as you need. Similar to how in Canvas or educators have a sandbox course where you can push things out or change things as you go without having to put things in an exact course. Okay, gradebook. The gradebook in Google Classroom is very easy to use. So the courses that I am showing in my Google Classroom are two that I have used in the past. This one is one that I used last spring break that I taught a group tutoring course on how to create their own comics, cartoons, and concept art. So this was not like a real course where they got real grades, but you can see my students were here and they didn't have like real assignments, so they didn't have to really turn anything in. But you can see, I can see here the assignments that they had, and then from here I can individually edit or delete those assignments, and then I would be able to see what the grades were. When you're assigning grades to assignments, you have the option to leave comments on the student's work. So this Google Classroom is one that I made for a teacher friend who wanted to learn how to use Google Classroom. And so I set up a Google Classroom for her that would also teach her how to use it. And so you can see right here, I gave her a grade and I can leave her a comment that she would get when I return that assignment. And then I can also see by clicking on the individual assignment. So back in the gradebook, if I clicked up here on the actual assignment, it would take me to see all of the assignments that have been turned in, how many were assigned, and how many I have graded. So it's an easy way to easily see how many, as far as numbers, assignments are still out. There is no social network support for Google Classroom. And like I said earlier, Google Calendar will sync to your Google Classroom. So I can see right here in Calendar, I can choose which course I want to look at, and it would show me in the calendar what was due that week. And it also creates a calendar for each course. So you can see over here in my personal Google Calendar, I can see here are my 2 courses that I'm looking at. And then down here, these are other Google Classroom courses that would show up in my Google Calendar. So it does sync to a personal Google Calendar. All right, for assessment support, there is not a real support, only what the instructor creates in Google Forms. So if you put instructions in a Google form that you're using as a quiz, then that would be your support. You can also see, so I created a quiz and I created it in Google Forms and I assigned certain answers. And so I can also change how much those are worth for each question. And then you have your settings, but those are about all of the support that is available. As far as resource management goes, Google Classroom courses can be either archived or left open forever. As you can see, these 2 that I have left open forever. In the case where you are in a K-12 school where they use Google Classroom, the courses can be archived or copied. Any documents that you've created in the course get saved to the Google Drive folder that Google Classroom, creates in your Google Drive. But if you delete that folder, everything is lost for that course. So this is why when I have students in my Google Classrooms, I tell them, do not touch that folder. And I tell teachers the same thing, because everything you have ever made or everything you have ever graded or anything relating to that course is going to be in that folder. And you can't export documents from your classroom, but you can view those documents and make copies. All right, when you want to archive a course, it gives you this warning. It tells you what's going to happen, but then you can always view your archived courses in your classroom menu. So let me move this. Right here in your Google Classroom menu, you can see your archived classes. And when you go in there, you can see all the classes that you have ever archived. All right, now we're going to talk about file and media storage, the enrollment process, plugins or third-party support, offline support, analytics, or course archiving. And course archiving. All right, so you are able to upload files to Google Classroom, but they are files related to the assignments that you're creating for your students. So if you want them to view a certain doc, they can see it there. You can also upload PDFs where they can see in their Google Classroom. You are also able to view, listen, or watch YouTube videos within the LMS, and this is what it looks like really here. And it's really, really helpful because you don't have to worry about ads popping up. You can have that video right there. Students also cannot see the comments that are on videos if you put the link directly into your Google Classroom. So as a teacher, there are no file size limitations in Google Classroom. But if you are using a personal account, you can only upload up to 15 gigabytes of files. But if you are using a Google for Education account, then you have unlimited storage. So the enrollment process for Google Classroom is very similar to what we have seen in Canvas and Blackboard, but Google Classroom also has an enrollment code, similar to the way Canvas creates enrollment codes. So there are a few different ways of enrolling in Google Classroom. So if you are in a K-12 school where you have a roster, usually the tech team will enroll students into the teacher's existing Google Classrooms. Teachers can also add students via email in the Invite Students area of the People tab. So you can see right here what it would look like if I wanted to add people to my classroom. You can also use the invite link that you can copy right here and then share that wherever you want to add your students. Or you can also copy that class code or display it really big. I know this is something that Google rolled out a few years ago that has been really helpful. So you can click on this full size button and it will make that code really big and cover your whole screen so that all of your students can see it and enroll in your Google Classroom. You can also reset your class code if that code is being shared, and you can turn it off if you don't want your classroom to be enrolled in anymore. So there aren't really any third-party tools that are supported in Google Classroom, but if you have Chrome extensions, then some of them will work in Google Classroom. And some of those that I have used in the past and found are Cami, Mote, Screencastify, and Nearpod. I also learned about book widgets that you can add into Google Classroom, but these are all Chrome extensions, and they also have to be installed on the student side in order for them to work. As far as offline support, because Google is an Android service, the only offline support is via the Classroom app that can be used on Android devices. So if your students have Chromebooks and they install the Classroom app instead of just doing the web version, then that would work. They can also use it on any type of Android phone. There aren't really any analytics other than what you get from the gradebook, where you can see the overall grades that I showed earlier, and then you can change how you want your grade calculation to happen. And like earlier, when we talked about course archiving, you can archive your courses. And then remember that you cannot export anything. You can only make copies of anything that is in your classroom. All right, our final part for today is we're going to talk about novice user training and continuing help, technical updates, technical support, and the ideal LMS customer. Sorry, that says support. Okay, so there is no novice user training and continuing help that I could find, but if you know a Google trainer, for instance, I am a certified Google trainer. Those are people who can help you learn more about Google Classroom. You can also go on professional development or you visit the Google Classroom Help Center or community and look for anything or new things that you could learn. As far as technical updates go, there have not been any updates made by Google since February 2021, and any information on updates or the lack of are posted in the Google Classroom Help or community. As far as technical supports go, the only classroom support I could find was in the Help Center or community. I also found that just by Googling, you can find out a lot about Google Classroom. I also really like the Shake Up Learning website. They have a great blog that offers help on Google Classroom. And I find that the ideal LMS customer for Google Classroom or a user is anyone in a K-12 school with a low or no budget, because it is a free learning management system. And you can use it with a personal Google account or a Google for Education account. And it is great for learning management system beginners because it is very, very user friendly. There's lots of YouTube videos out there to help you learn. Here are my references. And I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, here is my contact information. Thanks, everybody. Bye.